Hello. Happy Wednesday, happy Tap Talk. Welcome to another episode of Tap Talks on Wednesdays. Hope this message finds you. I hope you have your phone or whatever device you're watching on. I hope you're outside right now. I might even go outside eventually with this. But for now, I'm going to sit at the bar, the reverse bar, my side. It's like the only time I ever sit behind the bar. You never see me, rarely sitting at the bar. If I am, I'm doing some work. And basically never, just here enjoying. So I hope that, I hope that you're just enjoying the middle of the summer, the thick of it here, middle of July. This is prime summertime. So find yourself something delicious to enjoy, and let's take a little tour of some new stuff on tap, a couple new things in the beer fridge as well, and a couple of FAQs, some frequently asked questions. So my first beer that I've chosen to sip with you this evening is a new beer on the lineup, although not the first time we've had it, and not my first encounter with this one, but a very tasty one nonetheless, and maybe a little bit of a break from all the light summery stuff, because there's certainly plenty of it, but there's not a whole lot in the, we don't necessarily think of a lot of good malty, darker, somewhat darker beers this time of year. So I present to you Third Space, Unite the Clans. Maybe a little Braveheart going on there for you. There's just, if you like beer and if you like the toasted quality, like kind of roastiness, if you like coffee at all, this is something you want to get into. I've always been a person who's enjoyed like brown ales in particular, but they're not a super insane beer style. They're not a super widely produced beer style. So take a break from some of your hoppy stuff for a second, perhaps, and get on with a little bit of maltiness. So Third Space from Milwaukee. This is their Unite the Clans. This beer has the honor of being a gold medal winner at the Great American Beer Festival in, I want to say it was 2018. It's 2018 or 2019. And for good reason. Scottish in style. We talked about that a little bit a couple weeks ago with the Odell 90 Shilling. This one, they just vaguely call Scottish style, which I think is a quite accurate way to describe a lot of beers, or a great way to describe a beer like this, in that it doesn't pin it into being a super specific thing like the Odell 90 Shilling. This is just saying it's inspired by Scottish style, which generally means that it's a focus heavily on the malt flavor, and not really much with hops. The Scottish beers, Scotland's not an area necessarily known for hops, so historically focused on the malty beers. Tom, here, I just needed someone to make some type of comment so I could break out the Scottish brogue and talk about this Scottish ale. This one lands somewhere between an amber ale and a brown ale. It's got the roasted quality of a brown ale, but it's not a real strong, heavy, rich beer on the palate. It's quite drinkable. Clocks in at 5.5%. 5.8. Did you like the head whip? Paying for that one later. Yes, so malty, nice, refreshing for being a beer that's a little bit darker. This is one that I would often recommend to people who tend to not like dark beers but want to try something, kind of dip their toe into the pool. Again, with malty beers, and I say malty referring to the flavors coming from the grains used in the beer. In this case, you're looking at some toasted barley. I don't know the exact malt bill that they've got in here, but I'd be surprised if there's not some Scottish malts in there, malts that are kilned and roasted in Scotland and grown there as well. A bit of toast, a bit of caramel, a bit of roasty, almost chocolatey notes. Super yummy. Have it with something that you'll be grilling. Really nice. Okay, so I just dove straight into the beers. I'm backing it up for 1 second. Tonight we played host to our monthly trivia, and tonight's feature was Stone Lake's trivia. So we partnered up with the Stone Lake Historical Museum. They came up with questions. We added a couple and kind of just tweaked them to fit. So that was a really cool event. And Kathy and Connie from the Historical Museum came up with some really cool and interesting questions. You know, this small little town up here in northern Wisconsin has really some neat history to it. Lots of fun and interesting stories. Did you know at one point there were 3 newspapers in this town of like several hundred? And there were ostriches on a farm nearby owned by the Gregory family. All sorts of fun and interesting little tidbits. So we'll be having our next trivia coming up in August. And in my typical fashion, if you've known me, you'll know that I've got some ideas, but I haven't pinned anything down yet. It's the summertime. Give me a break. My head is down, busy into the work. All right. Tomorrow night, too, Thirsty Thursday, our weekly bottle share night, and we'll be having the Cobble House food truck back again. Very, very tasty comfort foods. You do not want to miss that. And if you need something to have with some meatballs, holy crap, boom, unite the clans. Okay, on to a summary note. This one that I hold in my hand here comes to us from the California-based brewery, one of the OGs of craft beer, really out there, from the later 80s, Anderson Valley. And a brewery that I would bet not a lot of people are very familiar with. They make a bunch of really good and interesting beers, but I feel like have sort of gotten a little bit of revitalization with their sour beers over the last 10, 15 years or so. They started kind of brewing the Goza style, which is a style of beer from Germany, and it is a style of light-bodied wheat beer, sort of native originally to Leipzig, Germany, and a style of beer that's brewed with a bit of coriander and a bit of salt in it, but then uses a souring technique with lactobacillus that creates a smooth tartness to the beer. So it's designed to be very refreshing, light-bodied, and tangy. And they've played off of all these beers and done a whole different series of Gozas and sour beers inspired by those things. So this one is their Tropical Hazy Sour. So they've kind of abandoned the Goza label in favor of marketing a bit here. And, you know, whatever, you gotta do what you gotta do. That's fine. So we've got passion fruit, coriander, and guava. It might be guava. There's so many ingredients in beers these days. Does it tell me? It says it on here. Looking. I was right. Don't question yourself. You know more than you think. Or what you might remember off the tap handle. Passion fruit, guava, and coriander. So you get some of that tropical, passion fruity guava character. You know, I don't know great adjectives to describe those other than tropical. There's a richness, there's a sort of almost musky flavor that each of those bring to the table, but it's balanced by that kind of nice, brisk, tart finish on it. And then the coriander just gives it this kind of cool herbal note. So kind of a cool, interesting beer. This one's a great summer one. This is like true sweet tart beer to me. It's not particularly super soured, but it depends on your palate. If you are a sour lightweight, meaning you can only handle a little bit of tanginess, you might find this a hair on the tart side. But overall, really well made, and it kind of keeps you coming back for more. I dig it. Okay, so I've got 2 things to show you in the fridge, but I brought them out of the fridge so I don't have to walk all the way over there. And then I'm going to do an FAQ. All right, first new beer from the fridge. From 1840. You might be like, you already showed us this beer. It's false. I did not, because it's a new beer for us from them. We have had a couple beers so far in the fridge from 1840 out of Milwaukee, but this one, the Man with the Golden Beer, is sort of a cool concept IPA. It is a New England style IPA, so it's hazy and it's got a real nice kind of like citrusy punch to it, but it's all themed off of James Bond 007 references. So the man with the golden gun, you might know that if you're a James Bond enthusiast, the man with the golden beer. And so this beer is made with British malts, which are the Golden Promise malt, which is a pretty popular malt to be used in a lot of IPAs because it has a nice rich sweetness to it that can stand up to some of the hop character. The Idaho 7 hops, which according to the label were only available under the name 007, the Golden Hop. I did not know that piece of information. I'm trusting that they're telling me the truth on their label. But either way, Golden Promise malt, Idaho 7, and then the London Ale 3 yeast, which has become really popular. It's become, oh yeah, there you go. Other James Bond themed beers, go. Chuck's got one in there for your beer only. I'm gonna have to think about that. I like this now. I'm a James Bond fan. But the other yeast that they use, the London Ale 3 yeast, is a low flocculating yeast, meaning that it does like flocculating, which I think is a funny word. When yeast does its bubbling, this is yeast fermenting. It's all like blah, 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 basically having a giant orgy in the beer, if you'd like to think about that. Eating and reproducing and just having a great old time. So when it's bubbling around there, when it falls out of the beer, when it kind of is like, okay, I'm done, I'm gonna go pass out now, it drifts to the bottom. We call that flocculation. So a high flocculating beer will, pretty much all the yeast will fall to the bottom of the beer, resulting in the beer being quite clear, not leaving any residual trace of the yeast. In a low flocculating yeast, it will just kind of keep hanging out in suspension. Great for hazy IPAs. And this beer makes good use of all those things. It's got a really nice malt character. It's got that biscuity, bready, classic British malt profile. Idaho 7s, which have become a pretty popular American hop. I don't know that I could give you the great profile on these, so you'll just have to come drink some to find out. I think it's punchy, sort of a bit of candied citrus, if I remember exactly correctly, and a little bit of like sort of that stone fruit. I don't know. I don't remember. There's too many hop varieties. So let's drink some of this together. We'll open some tomorrow, Thirsty Thursday. New beer, 1840, man with a golden beer. I have less to say about this one, but not because of anything negative. It's just that was a mouthful, and I realized I talked a lot about it. Modest Brewing, if you know us, you know we like them. There's some friends of ours that opened this cool brewery downtown in Minneapolis, and they're a bunch of punks in a good way, and they make really kick-ass beer. And this is the Teal Label. It is a West Coast IPA, but made in somewhat of the Modest style. So it's a little bit hazy still, but traditional West Coast versus hazy kind of West Coast, East Coast style. West Coast a little bit more dry, a little bit more assertive hop character to it, and kind of a milder, more restrained malt character. So this one, hot off the press, Teal Label from Modest Brewing, and the Man with the Golden Beer from 1840. Both those are new additions to the beer fridge. And to wrap up, ooh, what do we got on here? From Russia with Beer. Nice, Chuck. Yeah, I like it. To wrap up, I wanted to do a little FAQ. Let's see how well I can do this here. We're going to switch you around so you can see a lovely tap area here. And I want to instruct you on two things. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this with one hand, but we're going to find out. A lot of common questions about, A, what is this thing that you're always pressing down? Doing that before you pour my beers. It's just water, but the reason we do it is to rinse out the glass. And when you pour beer into a dry glass, the head wants to stick to the side of it, and it creates a little extra foam. So this just keeps the glass nice and cool. It's a little bit of an additional insurance policy to make sure the glass is nice and clean, but they always are here. And then it just helps the foam rise to the top. So let's see if I can manage to pour a beer with one hand while also not making you vomit from doing this. We're doing a little ad hoc. All right, we're going with... All right, I did myself a nice foamy pour just so you could see some of the foam run over the side of the glass, which it does. A little Allagash white here. And then you may notice another commonly asked question is, why do you take this water bottle and spray my beer off? It's just so you don't get sticky beer on the side of your hands, or on your sticky beer from the side of the glass onto your hands. So this is a new little water bottle we've gotten back here, and it just helps keeps the beers clean. Keeps the beer glass clean. This is what you get for a live video, right? This is not going to be the most polished thing of all time. I discovered the side of the glass rinsing at a cool bar. I'll give shout outs to other places. The Growler guys down in Eau Claire. If you live in Eau Claire or visiting Eau Claire and want to get a really good selection of beer, Growler guys is a cool place to go. They have a full-on, like, plumbed in wand to spray off the side of the glass with water. It's pretty neat, but they also have, like, I don't know, 70 taps, so it makes sense that they have something plumbed in to do that. I also, when I was traveling last spring, discovered some other places doing a similar thing, but just using a simple condiment bottle spray, like a ketchup bottle, which is what we started using here, and then just upgraded to the sort of sciencey lab experiment bottle because it's got the 90-degree angle on it. It makes it a little easier to spray. So these are two, like, super low-tech solutions to hopefully further enhance your beer enjoyment experience here. We're not a full bar. We don't do cocktails and mixed drinks and things like that. So we don't have a lot of opportunity for flair. But since we're pouring beer, anyone can pour beer, but it takes something a little extra to do it properly. And so we try to make sure that you're getting the best experience of the beer. I recently heard an expression, and I'll work on it, see if I can learn it in Czech. I don't speak a word of Czech other than pivo, which just means beer. We have a new toy coming some point in the near future here. I'm going to keep it under wraps until it arrives. But it pertains to the concept that this Czech saying illustrates, which basically says the brewer brews the beer, but the bartender, or the translation of the publican, the person who pours the beer, is the one who makes the beer. And basically what that's saying is, even though the brewer has created the beer, you might make this amazing beer, but then it might be served poorly. Vice versa, you may take a sort of average or mediocre beer and then pour it in a very nice setting with clean lines, clean glassware, the proper temperature, the proper amount of head on the beer, all those things tie into that. And so I strive and do my best to present, and we all do here, to present you with the best experience with these beers. So hopefully taking both things, the best beers we can find and presenting them in the best way. And those are just a couple of little things that we do to help ensure that experience is great here. And we hope that you never have to send a beer back. But at the same point, we serve a lot of beers. It's entirely possible we'll miss a lipstick on the rim of the glass. And in that case, you just send that right on back. We'll get you squared away. And never be embarrassed about doing that at a bar. These things happen. We do our best to try and keep things clean. But we're also human. And so I'll try to make sure it would never happen. But you never know. So anyway, I think I've gone a little bit long. A little extra sip here. We've got some fun things coming up for the rest of the summer. Our August calendar will be dropping here soon with a few more events. And yeah, tomorrow night, Thirsty Thursday, come on out, have some tasty food. Today was a real gem of a day after the heat we've had the last couple of days, and I think tomorrow looks equally as nice. So I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday evening. Look forward to seeing you down here again soon. I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's okay. That's par for the course. Have a great night. Happy Tap Talk Wednesday. Cheers.